Welcome back to the Unleashing. I'm your host, Jared Bueller. You guys ever seen the shell game where you put a ball underneath? It's kind of like gambling, and you watch it turn around, and then you try to pick which one it is. I want you to kind of keep this in the back of your mind as we talk about this here in the next minute. And instead of 3 shells, let's play it with 4 shells, okay? We're going to talk about Matthew 24, all right? The whole chapter, okay? And it's kind of a special chapter, and it discusses things, and it's one of post-tribbers' big front that they try to use, that the tribulation happens, and then we get raptured at the very end, okay? Well, I'm going to break this down. I'm going to show you. If you guys have a Bible with you, that's perfect, because I want you to see it for yourself, all right? Within the whole chapter, Matthew 24, we find that there are 4 separate paragraphs that start within the chapter, okay? If you guys have never noticed before, there's a little distinction that's marked by verse 3, verse 29, verse 36, and verse 42, okay? In some of your Bibles, this might be a bold number instead. These are the start of new paragraphs, okay? Before I start to read this, I want to point out here what a paragraph is. A subdivision of a written composition that consists of one or more sentences, deals with one point, or gives the words of one speaker and begins on new, usually intended line, okay? A short composition or note that is complete in one paragraph, right? A distinct section of piece of writing, usually dealing with a single theme and indicated by a new line, indentation, or numbering. All right. Purpose of a paragraph is to express the speaker's thoughts on a particular point in a clear way that is unique and specific to that paragraph. All right. We've broken down different versions of what a paragraph is. It's unique. It can be separate. It is separate, and what separates the whole thing. There are 4 within the chapter of Matthew 24, okay? Now, remember that shell game I was telling you guys about? I want you to think of these paragraphs as that shell game. Now, we look at things that are on a linear line, all right? When we read or look at things, it's from beginning to the end. So when you read chapter 24, it could be very easy to look at this linear and be like, this is the order of events. Now, we can pretty easily tell from verse 29, which is actually the second chapter, or a paragraph within chapter 24, that this is speaking of the end of the tribulation. But we're going to break down every single one and take those shells and flip them from a linear into a way that kind of makes sense. There is some overlay and things that take place, but you got to think about who's speaking here. It's Jesus, who is God. And he does not look at things the same way that we do when he's doing. He's an absolute genius. He knew when he was speaking, it would be absolutely true, how it would be written down, and what he would have to say for it to be figured out during timelines and everything else. He's looking at the whole spectrum. It's absolutely bigger than our minds can comprehend. It's just unfathomable. But it's awesome because stuff is starting to be revealed the closer we get in. It's almost its own little time scale that opens up as it unfolds and gets closer, okay? So we're going to look at this. I'm going to read the whole chapter real fast, and then I'm going to put these verses in a way that, or these paragraphs in a way that is more towards our linear understanding. All right. While Jesus is speaking this whole thing, they are separated. You can pull them out completely separate, just like the shell game that I'm talking about. They're almost their own entity, and then we'll put them in an order for this chapter that makes a little bit of sense here. All right. We're going to start with the first one that I'd like to look at in this order, if it's going to kind of make sense. All right. And that's verse 3, but it's we're gonna use this as our first paragraph. Chapter 24, right? And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came on him privately, saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world?" And Jesus answered and said unto them, "Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of war. Beseech you not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." Right there, I just want to point out, I have totally scolded people on YouTube and others out there. You guys have seen your house there yourselves that literally are claiming to be Jesus Christ or the Messiah. And I've seen it from one woman that was doing it and a few other people that were men, some from South America and other places. Like, it's just unbelievable. But okay, this is being fulfilled as we speak. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places. All right, this has been taking place, and this is happening right now more as we speak. All right. All these are the beginning of sorrows, okay? It's leading up to the tribulation he's about to be talking about. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. This has been happening for years, all right? Especially during the Roman Catholic times when they're killing Christians when they started reading the Bible, finding out the truth, okay? And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. All right, this is taking place, especially right now. There is definitely a coldness of heart is taking place around the world. People are like, I want my stuff, and I want it now. All right, screw anybody else. But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. All right, and that's the end of this age that we are, before the tribulation, okay? And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. And it has been. It's been preached all over the place. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth him, let him understand. All right? Speaking to the Jews at this time, and is working them up to the abomination of desolation, because he knows. He already knows the whole timeline. He knows what's going to happen. He knows that they don't believe until that time when it happens. So he's warning them up to this point. Like I said, there's some overlay. But these are different, separate thoughts thrown into one chapter that we can separate and look at in a different order. We can line it up where it makes more linear sense for us. Let him which is in the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in winter, neither on the Sabbath day, all right? It's telling you don't want any of these things to be in your way, because you're going to have to be moving fast, real fast, because they're going to kill you. For then shall be a great tribulation, such as not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be, talking about the second half. And except those days shall be shortened, there shall be no flesh saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Whatever this means, whether it's actual shortening of the years, I don't know if that's true because of the timeline with the feast days that it has to line on. But it's speaking of something, all right? Then if any man shall say to thee, Lo, here is the Christ, or thou there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they should deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say to you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For where the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered. Okay, we're going to stop right there. He's saying, don't be looking at any man, anybody that says they're Messiah, if they're not coming like lightning from the east in the sky, awesome like, it's not Jesus, all right? You can't, when people are like, no, it's not, and anybody who sees this coming, they're going to be deceived, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. No, you're going to know exactly when Jesus is coming, all right? Because it is distinctly, nobody shows up like he does when he enters the room or the scene. It's legendary, all right? And it will be, absolutely, every time. Now, because we can pull these out separate, because they're different thoughts, to pull away from this confusion, we're going to skip 29 through 35, all right? And we're going to take this shell that we're going to call it, and we're going to move it towards the end, all right? We're going to go to one that makes a little bit more sense for the beginning of this in this linear order, which is 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man. No, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. This is started by a new paragraph. You'll see it in the bold indication that's right there, right? But as the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For in that day they were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, one shall be taken, the other one left. Two women shall be grinding the mill, one shall be taken, the other left. Speaking of the rapture happening secretly when nobody's paying attention upon the world, all right, we're going to be paying attention. We're going to know this, okay? Now, this is its own separate entity within Matthew chapter 24, okay? It's its own paragraph within there, and it's indicated that way. It's how Matthew had it written, okay? So he already knew, okay? But this is talking about it. It's going to be a surprise. It comes upon the world, and the rapture happens at that time. Boom, 2 people will be in the field, 1 is taken, all right? When it's talking about grinding the mill and working your daily lives, and somebody tries to put that in the end of the tribulation, by the time you get to the end and everything's turned to blood, the sun's scorching, there's no crops or anything else, and hail's just come down and destroyed everything, 2 people aren't going to be doing anything in the field. It's going to be pandemonium, only a few people left on the planet, okay? This is the beginning of the tribulation, okay? Right before it starts when this happens, all right? Now, we're going to put this shell, boom, in the second row from the first chapter, or from the verse paragraph that I read, and we're going to jump now to 29, the one that we put at the end. We're going to put this now in the third order. And it doesn't have to be. You can look at all these separate and put them in your own order that makes sense. I'm just doing this in a way so you can see the separate breakdown of this. Now, verse 29 is own paragraph as well, okay? Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall the tribes of the earth mourn that day, and shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven. Great glory. Something completely and distinctly different. Where before it was a surprise to be taken, now everybody sees it, right? You're going to see it, right? From lightning from the east, everybody's going to know you're not going to be deceived anymore, okay? There is no deception. He can't be mistaken. And then shall send his angels with great sound of trumpet, and they shall gather together as elect from the 4 winds, from one end of heaven to the other. All right? I totally think this is him gathering everybody up, taking them in Jerusalem, where Judgment Day is going to happen on the feast day, and everybody else. And it could be also gathering us, because he might show up, and then boom, we ride in right behind him, and then we go down into Armageddon. It's hard to say exactly how he has it, okay? Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, you know that summer is nigh. So likewise, when you shall see all these things, know that this is near, even at the door. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass, till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away, okay? Now he's telling you a sign, speaking and referencing Israel itself as the fig tree. When you start to see these things just like it in its time, you will know that this stuff is about to happen. All of it's taking place. And now, all right, that we have this order, we're going to look at the last paragraph, verse 42, all right, indicated. And this is kind of like, we're going to look at it almost as a blanket shell that can cover the whole passage, all right? And just kind of one way to look at this, all right? Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come, all right? Speaking of the whole thing together, all right? But know this, that if the good man of the house had known to watch, the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man cometh, all right? Always be ready, and don't be thinking, it can't be at this time, all right? Because he will come. And we are given signs to look for, right? Who then is faithful and wise servant whom his Lord hath made rule over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. As in looking for Jesus, exactly what we're doing. Blessed are those servants, all right? We're getting the heads up. We're looking for it. There's a reward for it, okay? Verily I say to you, that he shall make him rule over all his goods. And if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, like so many have done, and then shall begin to smite his fellow servant, and eat and drink with the drunkard, go about daily business, looking for money and riches, and thinking, his year's off still, all right? The Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him with his portion with the hypocrites, and there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, all right? They're going into the tribulation, all right? This is all Matthew 24, all right? But you can see in there, and you can look in your own Bibles, from verse number 3 to 28. It's its own paragraph, all right? Jesus is speaking about one topic, all right? And even though they are all going together, he's breaking it up and talking about different separate things from his viewpoint, all right, that isn't linear. He's breaking it up the timeline, even though it does go on in order. And from Matthew 29 to Matthew 35 verses, that's its own paragraph. From 36 to 41, it's his own paragraph. And to finish it up, from 42 to 51, it's its own paragraph. 4 different shells here, okay, that don't go in a linear fashion when it's speaking, even though they're talking about an event and there's an overlay and things like that that discusses it. The timeline itself is broken up, and not in a linear fashion where it goes one step, one step, one step. All right. This is why it speaks of the second half when everybody sees them, which we know doesn't happen, and then at the end, watch therefore for you know that day. And they have taken this and they have looked at it in linear fashion, post-tribulationists, and there's the problem right there, and that is why it makes absolutely no sense, and why they think that Jesus comes to the second coming first, and that's when it happens. All right, and then they put it together thinking it's talking about one topic. These are separate paragraphs; they're a completely different thing and different subject being taught, or same subject but different angle that we're looking at here. Okay. And that's important, I feel, and I really wanted to point it out because I was looking at it the other night and I'm like, you know, I can make a topic about this, and I think it might help people out there. But this morning I'm watching some financial stuff, and I'm listening to some experts and stuff, and they're talking about things, and I was watching this increasing wedge that happens in a financial market, and we're looking at all the different countries and stuff, and how it works its way up to a point where it's bouncing back and forth until it gets to that breaking point, and you look back in history like 1929 and other things like that, and it falls through the floor, all right? And we're reaching that pinnacle point right now, and many of the experts are all saying the same thing. It's going down this fall. It's going to happen this fall, which lines up with many of the things that we're looking at. And as I'm watching, it's not just America, it's Japan, China, Germany. Every country has reached the pinnacle point of this where this whole thing is going to come down. And what they do during these times when it happens is they need people to look another direction so it wasn't their fault. So they don't get stoned, okay? That their whole system was jacked the whole time, right? And they're rich at the top. So what they do is they get something like a war, all right? Exactly another thing that we're looking for. That they take place and they say, well, things were going really good under the Trump administration. It was totally fine. If it wouldn't have been for this World War III event, our economy wouldn't have crashed. Okay, there's a scapegoat. We have something to blame it on, okay? The thing is we know that those go hand in hand from Revelation because of the second and the third seal. They go right together. So when we see looming economic disaster worldwide on a massive scale never seen before, bigger than 1929, all right? This looks like the economic crash of the third horseman. And what are they going to blame it on? The war that happens right before it, okay? Which is going to be World War III. So, boom, the second seal that happens right before it. Things are lined up for it like I've never seen before. It's incredible. And this is what we're talking about and what many of you out there are noticing as well. That all of this is lined, primed, and ready to go. I've never seen a convergence like this year. It's amazing. And for that reason, we're not looking the other way. We're saying, hey, this definitely could be it. It's definitely something to be taking notice to, all right? Especially with the visions and everything else and the things that have happened, all right? Stock markets and things have started to go down a little bit in some of the countries I've seen from the 3rd of October, all right? Also another important time that we were looking at. And it's pushing right up to this time that's going to be around the election time, and if pandemonium ensues, I've heard that the economy crashes right after that. So you know what? I mean, everything is right where it needs to be for this to all happen. And yet we have this calm feeling that we know that Jesus is coming for us, right? And there's other people out there in the financial area that might not be, and the temptations are there. Hey, if you play this right, you can make millions when it rebounds or whatever if you invest in the right things and buy low and stuff like that, all right? It's temptation of the world to try and find riches and things like that instead of looking at Jesus where your heart belongs, you know, because that stuff will fade away. It's not going to mean anything anyway, especially when it's a day's wage for a loaf of bread. Millions won't mean anything. It'll just be more chump change, you know. And even though somebody might get rich, it's temporary. To be with Jesus in heaven and to go to where we're supposed to, it's going to be so much more incredible than anything the world can ever offer, you know. So for that reason, we keep looking up, and we're not distracted by this stuff, okay? And, you know, every single thing is just pointing towards it. And economic experts that I've listened to from other ones and stuff like that, they're all saying the same thing. That this is all heading to a climax. It's going to explode. And when I listen to what they're saying and then compare it to what the Bible is looking like it's going to happen, plus the signs that we're giving, what happens in the end of days, all the false prophets out there, the false teaching, the amping up. When I use my senses and I'm looking out there and I feel this breaking point that the whole world's consciousness is about to, that is feeling that something massive is about to happen, while the whole alien agenda is saying the event's coming, which we know is going to be part of the deception that they use to try and trick people of the rapture. When we get taken to heaven, they're trying to say that they gone with aliens and stuff like that. Everything is primed and ready for this thing to take place. And it feels still like it's this year, so I can say nothing less. Because if it looks like it, I have to say it. I'm not here to trick anybody. I'm here to warn people to say, turn to Jesus. Everybody, he will take you back. All right? Even if you've been a post-tribber and you're like, oh my gosh, what he was just talking about in Matthew makes perfect sense. I can see the breakdown of the paragraphs inside the Bible now when I look about it. Do you think you'll? Absolutely. Just turn your heart to him right now. Let go of the world and the things that a lot of post-tribbers put themselves in, their pride that they're going to be able to survive it, money, finances, or love of the world, and just let that stuff go, all right? He'll take you. And then get out of here with us, because nobody wants to see you left behind, all right? Nobody does. We all want to get out of here and go to be with Jesus, and that's what this is. It's just more last-minute calls to be paying attention, get your heart right with Jesus, and trust in him. If your heart is with him and you love him, he's taking you out of here, okay? He's coming to get you. And we have that to look forward to. It's exciting, and that's why we don't have a fear or a panic that this is taking place right now, right? Even though it looks like we're reaching the end of this is our Red Sea moment, and it might get pushed right up to the edge, but then he's going to split it open. He's going to grab us out of here, just like he split open the Red Sea, you know. So this is just a few things that I wanted to talk about. But when those seals break, all right, it's going to be man's events first, and this is progressively getting worse. War, economic crash, and things like that. Then it's going to move into astronomical stuff that comes from the sky, planet Nibiru or wormwood, and they're going to be one and the same. It's the same thing, just looking at from different angles, all right? And it's going to be like trumpets 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then it gets on to stuff that's, it's, I can't think of the word right now, but you're going to be looking at stuff that seems impossible, because the trumpets 5 and 6, these beings that come out of the pit and sting people, and then those spectral riders are killing 1/3 of the population. After 1/4 has already been killed by the 4 horsemen, half the population's gone, and then after that, the 2 witnesses go up, then it's God's wrath. It's like, no more games, all right? You have to know that I'm God now. You absolutely have to. Turn to me. When you die, you will be saved. Otherwise, you're going to the other place. And he pours out his wrath, and it's going to be absolutely terrible, okay? Oceans turn to blood, rivers turn to blood. The sun gets cranked up, all right? You're going to be scorched if you were in it. And then hail at the end. This is like the size of 100 pounds or whatever, falling from the sky, breaking and crushing everything. Before Armageddon happens and the whole place gets cleansed, okay? But all this stuff, it's pointing to it. Every single day I see it pointing more. You guys see it pointing more. If there's anybody out there that's been a post-tribulationist looking at Matthew 24, look at this breakdown and how it is. These are separate themes being spoken of here, mixed into one chapter, right? And they can be separated and looked at so that you can put them in more of a chronological or linear order, right? That makes sense to you, okay? And it's totally possible. And I believe that is why that instead of it being one paragraph all the way through, Matthew had it broken down that way to distinctly point out that he's talking about different areas at angles of this whole thing that takes place, okay? So I really hope this helps some people, and keep looking up, because like I say, every single thing is prepped and ready for this to go. Tomorrow is the 27th October. It is the 17th day of the second month, starting from Feast of Trumpets. 2018, okay, which we'd technically be in 2019 on the Jewish calendar, because that's when they start their new year. That's why this is the second month and the 17th day. The same time when the floods came, all right? We are now entering into a massive rapture window, that if it's this year, and it looks like it is, that things can start to take place where the tribulation is about to start, all right? So who knows what's going to happen in the next few weeks or anything, but we're still looking, we're trusting in Jesus, and we're still looking up, okay? But be paying attention to everything, and it still looks like it's on. I would say that it's slowed down, or it doesn't look like it's this year if it did, but it doesn't. It looks like it's on still. So I'm just giving that to you, okay? And we're paying attention. I really hope this helps, and I'll catch you guys next time on Unleashing. God bless. Bye.